Mr. Scott Ferros, Chief Financial Officer for Blackhawk, located in Norfolk, Virginia. Blackhawk was founded in 1995 by a former U.S. Navy SEAL, Mike Knoll. The company is recognized as a world leader in supplying tactical equipment to the military and law enforcement markets. Mr. Ferros.
Chairman Nye, Ranking Member Schock, and the distinguished members of the Contracting and Technology Subcommittee of the House Small Business Committee. Happy to be here today. Again, my name is Scott Ferros. I'm the Vice President and Chief Financial Officer for Blackhawk, a Norfolk, Virginia-based veteran-owned small business. Thank you again for allowing me the opportunity to share my views on the merits of the Research and Experimentation Tax Credit. As a certified public accountant with over 30 years of varied public accounting and industry experience, and the Chief Financial Officer of a highly innovative small business, I feel somewhat uniquely qualified to convey to you some of my observations on the R&D credit. As I'm sure you already know, which I've experienced time and time again, tax policy does significantly influence taxpayer behavior. With respect to the R&D credit, I believe the economics of the credit stimulate product innovation-related spending. However, the ongoing temporary nature of the legislation, along with the administrative complexities of the program, do create an uncertainty for all users, and there is a punitive cost of compliance issue that will limit the use for very small businesses. As we meet here today, I'd like you to consider a couple of simple recommendations. First, recognize the economic benefits most companies do derive from the program. Second, make the R&D credit permanent law. And third, work to simplify the compliance process. Blackhawk is a 16-year-old company with a history of developing new and innovative product solutions, which we believe enhance the effectiveness and safety of our primary end users, the warfighter and the law enforcement officer. It is our collective opinion at Blackhawk that the economic benefits of the R&D credit allowed under the Internal Revenue Code have helped enable our company to grow from a very small entrepreneurial-run business to a product development-driven organization that now employs over 300 people throughout the United States and sells thousands of products to military and law enforcement professionals on a global basis. Blackhawk has utilized the R&E credit since 1999. During this 10-year period, the company has successfully developed several hundred new products and increased payroll-related research and experimentation expense from approximately $200,000 in 1999 to over $5 million in 2008. During that time, while credits increased from roughly $15,000 to over $300,000 last year, the gross revenue subject to federal and state tax grew tenfold. Much of this increase that we've experienced has been driven by new products introduced as a result of the R&D process, which leads us to believe that the payback to the government far surpasses the cost of the program. While the benefits of the program appear clear, the temporary nature of the credit has caused uncertainty, and the compliance complexities have created barriers of entry and a cottage industry supporting the compliance. The R&E credit was originally enacted as part of the 1981 Economic Recovery Tax Act and has been revised and amended in the years since through many updated tax acts, but remains still temporary. The continuance of the credit is a frequent topic of discussion and speculation between businesses, tax advisors, members of Congress, and the Department of Treasury, creating an air of uncertainty for all parties involved. We believe that making the credit permanent would encourage more companies to use this credit and therefore stimulate research. Finally, the tax credit and expenses are addressed in Internal Revenue Code sections 41 and 174, as well as the corresponding regulations. The source of the law is well over 100 pages in length, which does not include the thousands of court cases and other rulings pertaining to the same topic. An editorial discussion by the Bureau of National Affairs is nearly 300 pages in length, as evidenced by the massive volume of law. Compliance and access to the credit is extremely difficult. The complexity has given rise to a cottage industry of tax advisors who specialize exclusively in quantifying and reporting the credit. In our case, we justify the compliance and consulting costs to report the credit. However, quite frankly, the professional services associated with this credit are expensive and I believe prevent smaller entrepreneurs from benefiting. At Blackhawk, we have a well-organized and disciplined R&D division with remarkable employees and distinct financial reporting. Even with this unique organization, we're required to produce contemporaneous documentation to support our activities for the sole purpose of qualifying for the credit. And while we have sufficient size to benefit from the credit, it's not always the case, and it was very difficult when we were a small company. We believe there are many barriers that prevent smaller and younger companies from claiming this credit, not the least of which are the complexities, the compliance costs, the alternative minimum tax, and net operating loss limitations. So, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, we strongly recommend that easing these barriers will permit more and smaller companies to claim the credit and drive the innovation within the United States. This concludes my prepared statement, and again, thank you for the opportunity to testify, for allowing me the opportunity to testify to the committee today, and I look forward to answering any of your questions.